welcome to Miley Daily. 54% of you are not subscribed to this channel. Please subscribe. Welcome to Miley Daily. It's a Miley Daily. It's a great time here. You'll love it. Like and subscribe. Thank you. See you soon.
What was the existential crisis? Zach was like, didn't you have one last week? And the answer is yes, but it's the same one. It's the same one. Let me tell you a little story of where this started, all right? So, first of all, Alexa, turn the office on. First of all, it's, existential crises are very common for conservationists, okay? Because each and every one of us is deeply passionate about our planet, and each and every one of us has chosen to dedicate our lives to fighting a losing battle, which is a little bit hard to wrap your head around sometimes. If you look at conservation and you know the trajectory of our ecosystems and our planet and our environment, it is very grim, right? I had a friend who was breeding so had a nonprofit and was breeding. The nonprofit was based around bird conservation, particularly endangered birds of New Guinea. So she bred lots of birds from New Guinea, right, in captivity, built up genetic diversity for birds in New Guinea, ended up with like 400 or 500 birds. And then after however many years of developing this nonprofit and breeding these birds, realized that they could not be released into the wild because there's no habitat to release them to, and because that government has no interest in engaging in conservation efforts. So the birds all got moved to a facility where they'll remain for the rest of their lives. It's basically a zoo, but just for birds, and that nonprofit dissolved. That being said, she had done a lot of education, a lot of really beautiful work, you know, with the birds throughout the existence of the nonprofit, and I think made a lot of people really love them, and did what I think is important work. But then, at the end of the day, it made me think about it, and again, this is not to, really not to put down that friend's work. It just sent me spiraling a little bit, because I was like, does education matter if, you know, if the wild counterparts of those animals are doomed anyway, you know? And I know that's like a really shitty way to think, because one of the things that Danny said today that is so true when I was talking to my team about this is Danny was like, well, we're all going to die anyway, right? So like, why do anything good, you know? Which is true. That is true. But something with Alveus that I've thought about many times, Zabby, thank you, is Alveus' success is solely based on my success and Twitch as a platform, right? Both of which are fickle. Twitch is a social media platform. It's scary to rely on that, you know, for a whole nonprofit and for the lives of all these animals and the people that work for the nonprofit. And so it makes me think that I have a very short window to make a really powerful impact. It matters to me to make an impact. I want to make a difference, a tangible difference, you know, for our planet. And it's really hard to trace impact when you're doing education. There's very small anecdotal things here and there where people are like, I got an internship at this place because of Alveus, or I rescued this rabbit that I found and took it to a rehab center, right? There are anecdotal things like that, but you just can't track what people do with the information once you give it to them. Here's one thing that I know. Here's where my brain's at. People protect what they love what they understand, and they understand what they're taught, right? That's the conservation quote that is on the Alveus website. Everybody uses it. Very, very popular quote. I understand that my role in conservation is, because I have a platform, the education. I also understand that every zoo, sanctuary, facility that I respect has an education program. I know it has to start somewhere. I know someone has to put people on that path, you know, towards understanding and then protecting, understanding and then loving and then protecting. But it drives me bonkers that I cannot see the tangible results of that path that I can't trace that impact. I just put them there, or I put them at the beginning of it. And I think there are some things with Alveus, like, I think there are way less people that are, no, I think of the 22 months. I think there are way less people that are going to buy exotic pets because of my stream, or that would consider buying exotic pets because of my stream. I think that the food label thing is interesting. I think it's a small group of people that would commit to purchasing animal products differently because of my stream, but it's people nonetheless. Every facility that I respect has an education program. I understand that that's important. What was I talking about before that? Oh, chinchillas. I think that the pet trade thing is tangible. I think a lot less people would consider exotic pets because of my streams. I think the not a pet thing is pretty prolific, and I think that that's been effective. Again, really hard to trace, but I feel okay about that one. I think even streams like Animal Quest, where I talked about the chinchillas that Nick raided into, even if people walk away not remembering the numbers, because you absolutely don't need to remember the numbers, but I think anybody who watched that stream in full can just be like, fuck the fur trade. Yikes. You know? And I think that that's important, and that's kind of tangible as well. There's not much that's tangible that I can hold on to, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm an overachiever and I feel like I need to have known, like, I need to know the difference that I'm making, or I'm just scared because I feel like, and maybe I'm egoed out here and you tell me if I am, I feel this like immense pressure because there's so few conservationists that are able to teach this many people, especially this demographic. Like, I feel like I'm one of the only people doing conservation education that is reaching this demographic. So I feel like whatever I teach you is like the only place you're going to get it from. And I want to teach you the right things. And like, but I'm dumb. Like, it's trial and error, truly. Like, I've worked at some zoos, but I have an agriculture degree. Like, I'm 24 years old. You know, like, I don't have all the right answers. And so to use this limited space that I have on the platform with a platform to do what I think is probably best, to trial and error, like, what if I'm wrong? You know, what if I'm teaching you the wrong things? What if there's something in conservation that needs to be taught that I don't know about, or that I'm not teaching you, and it would be so much more worthwhile and so much more impactful if I was teaching you those things and not the things that I am teaching you, you know? And so when I was trying to figure out how to handle this problem, I set up a bunch of calls. I set up 5 calls with conservationists, biologists. I've talked to 3 of them so far. I've talked to Dr. Jonathan Colby, who's an amphibian biologist. He works a lot in the wildlife trade. He now works for the Smithsonian. I talked to him. I talked to Wes Larson, who is a bear biologist. He's doing bear management in Yellowstone. I talked to Ellie Armstrong, who's doing big cat conservation. She's a geneticist by training, and she does a lot in the wildlife trade and within sanctuaries and zoos and stuff like that. I talked to all of them, and I pitched the question, if you had the being a conservationist, boots on the ground, doing the research, doing the actual work, if you had the platform that I do, what would you want to teach people? What would you prioritize teaching people? And I was really hoping in setting up these calls that they would tell me, if people just knew about this, you know, if people just signed this petition, if people just knew about this problem, frogs would be so much better off. Amphibians would be so much better off. And they didn't give me those answers because they don't exist. These people that I have so much respect for, and like the best of the best in my eyes, they don't know the answers either. We don't know the answers, you know? And one of the things that Dr. Colby said is he does the same thing where he reads all these ecological crises and he's like, oh, I just have to tell people about this. If people just knew about this, if people knew about this. But if he tried to keep up and become an expert in all of the crises that he reads about, he would run himself into the ground and have no time to teach people about what he actually knows about and what he cares about and is passionate about, which is frogs. He was like, I just need to teach people about frogs. What do you want to teach people about? And my answer to that was, it's not about me. I was like, I want to teach people about what is most effective. I want to teach people about whatever is going to make the most impact for our planet. I don't care if it's a boring ass petition, you know, or if it's some legislation that really needs to be pushed that I feel like I have no interest in. If that's what it was that would be the most effective, that's what I want to teach people. You know, I would get into it. That would become my life. But he was just like, you have to work backwards. You have to figure out what is the impact that you want to make on the world, and then you see if you're at the start of it. And if you're not, then you change something.
We've got a #1 victory royale. Yeah, Fortnite, we about to get down. 10 kills on the board right now. Just wiped out Tomato Town.
My friend just got down. I revived him. Now we're heading southbound. Now we're in the Pleasant Park Street.
Look at the map.
Go to the mark sheet.